Hi, I'm Kevin Lee with the E-Marketing Association. Many of you know me as the founder of Did It, which I've been running for 25 years as a first a digital, first an SEM and SEO shop. Now we do everything after 11 acquisitions. I also run a nonprofit called Giving Forward. So I'm lucky enough to be chatting with Mark Helfman, who covers the area of crypto. And there's a lot of intersection between crypto and marketing these days. But first, I wanted to just sort of ask Mark, how long have you been covering the crypto market as a writer?
Well, so I started my newsletter, Crypto is Easy, about a year ago. And but I have been writing about crypto since really the end of 2018 when I published my first book, Consensus Land. And my second book, Bitcoin or Bust, Wall Street's Entry into Cryptocurrency, which went to #2 on Amazon. And that was 2019. And pretty much ever since, I've been writing here or there. The newsletter is that's focused on the markets. And then some of the other stuff I write on Medium and my books are more focused on the social, cultural types of those, explored more of those areas of cryptocurrency, whereas the newsletter is more about the markets.
Right, right. Yeah, a lot of what I ended up catching just as a result of sort of serendipitously coming across your writing sort of seems similar to how a technical stock analyst would cover a stock. So for people who really want to be more well-rounded than just looking at the the gyrations of pricing of various coin, what other elements of crypto and blockchain do you think people should be paying attention to, even if they're not as sexy as the wild market swings?
Well, the thing that I think is really interesting that gets overlooked a little bit in people's zeal for these coins is the technology, because what you have is a new platform for basically creating value. And I know it's a very abstract thing to think about, but it's very novel in the sense that you can create a money system, you can program that money in different ways to produce different results. Bitcoin is just, okay, you have Bitcoin, you send it to somebody, but there are other cryptocurrencies that are doing all sorts of really interesting things where they're building these new sort of networks, these platforms where you have a token where you program the token to produce a result, and that result can be drawing yield from markets. Like if you've heard of DeFi, right? DeFi does what banks do, except it's a mathematical protocol where instead of a banker taking in deposits at one interest rate, lending it out at a higher interest rate, and then taking the difference, you have a protocol that now basically moves money from one area to another, and then the protocol itself is what gets that value and then distributes to anybody who has that coin, that token. And it's that change that I think is so vital to understand, because that's what they call sometimes code eating everything, where you're replacing a traditional legacy system with these protocols that are more efficient. They are cheaper to create, cheaper to run, and easier for people like you and me to participate in. That's what's really revolutionary. And I know you guys are looking at NFTs, and I'm glad that we had a chance to talk to NFTs, because that's a perfect example of this kind of change, the shift in it's not just money, but it's a whole way of appreciating money and the value it creates.
Yeah, NFTs certainly seem to have a lot of applications within marketing, within commerce, within art. I was reading through a 101 guide that NFT.nyc does as part of their conference. And it's just incredible the various areas where NFT alone, forget blockchain more broadly, can be used. So if you're on a business team or marketing team and you're looking at NFT because you have something unique to your business or some way of potentially adding a scarcity layer to something that's digital, how should you be thinking about NFTs and whether it's worth dipping a toe into that area?
Well, I think the key aspect of NFTs is you can embed it with rules. So it's so yes, you can create something that is scarce and protect it by having it cryptographically secure, right? You have this protocol that verifies to everybody, this is it. This is the only one. So I can now reward you like a gold medalist, right? Gets a little token of gold from the Olympics. Well, now I can give you a digital gold medal to 5 people, and that's it. Nobody else. You are the 5 people who have that gold medal. That gives you certain access. If somebody else wants to buy it from you, that's fine. They get the same access. They get the same rights. They get the same privileges. but thank you very much for subscribing. Here's your gold medal, which you can take and do whatever you want with. And I can do that instantly at basically no cost. So now I'm creating something really valuable for you. It cost me hardly anything. It gives you a tremendous amount of value. And it's something that if other people find it valuable too, well, now there's a way that you can gain, if you want, from my efforts and my appreciation of you. But when you look at it even more broadly than that, because now you have an NFT, which is it's a token. And I know this is kind of abstract, but it's a thing that you can now split into tiny little bits and tiny little fractions. So you can start to distribute it across many different people. You can compartmentalize certain rules. Okay, this is a gold medal. It's programmed so that if you want, you can lend it out to somebody who can then have your access for a month. And it's time locked. And after a month, it comes back to you. You can do all these other things with it. If you're thinking about it, for example, if you want to do a loyalty program, you can embed certain rewards that can be either time locked, or you can set a certain threshold for when somebody gets those rewards. And once it's programmed and embedded in the token, that's it. You're good. And so the applications are really as expansive as you choose to make them. Mark Cuban did an interesting interview where he is excited about the idea of using it for subscriptions, where you can have an NFT that represents your subscription, and then people are just basically buying off the NFT. And because it's computer, it's digital, you can do this instantly, millions of times, so that you can do like streaming music, where the streaming music is embedded in a token. And once you finish playing that song, instantly, whoever's the next in line, they get that token. Which is great, 5 million of these things. So the only 5 million people can listen at any one time. And we don't know if that model is going to work, but it's the idea of being able to manufacture scarcity. And now as an artist, as a creator, I have 5 million scarce copies, verifiably unique copies of my music. And everybody needs to bid to get that music, and I get a little bit each time. So now I've done this thing as a creator, or even as an inventor, right? Right now we have patents. A company buys a patent, right? Well, now I can embed that patent on the blockchain, and I don't need a company to buy my patent. I now have a global access to anybody who wants to bid for my patent. And there's now a marketplace for patents, where instead of me begging somebody to take my patent, the businesses are begging me to use my patent, and that's all secured by that token. Those are the kind of things you can do with NFTs.
Yeah, that's really cool. Certainly the idea that the original creator can participate not only in the initial sale, but on an ongoing basis, I think is most fascinating to me when I start to think about the creator ecosystem. So that's a pretty exciting allure. Do you think that there's been excessive hype on NFTs, or do you feel like it's just the beginning?
Well, I don't know if it's Bill Gates. Somebody said people tend to overappreciate the value in the short run of technology and underappreciate the value in the long run. And I'm paraphrasing. And I think that's kind of what's going on with NFTs, where there's a lot of hype. People are just creating NFTs. They're doodling on their laptop and putting it on OpenSea, which is just one of the exchanges, Wax Hub, Atomic, Wax Hub. And it's just like a thing that people are doing, and they're making lots of money or whatever, which is cool. It's fun. And yeah, I would say it is to some extent hyped. It is a little excessive. And while that might die down, the value and the importance of the technology will only grow over time.
Cool. So are there any specific use cases for NFTs that you're particularly excited about?
Well, there's actually a publication that I work with called Crypto Writer. And what they're doing is they're rewarding their contributors with NFTs. And these tokens can be converted into these so you know how like Pokemon cards work? I don't exactly know, but I know I have a kid, my son is really into Pokemon. He's young and he's just getting into Pokemon. So he wants me to play with him, and so I know a little bit about Pokemon. And it's the idea that as an author, you get this token that you can convert into a crypto finny, and you can mix them and match them and create new combinations to create better, more valuable crypto finnies. And these things become collectibles. So the token itself is now worth like $100, $150. And that's a good, for a lot of writers, that is a good compensation for one piece of writing. They can do this for nothing. The writers get something that's valuable. People get something that's valuable. And you can now start to create a real business model based on that NFT. And that's what they're doing. They've just started doing it. So far, it's doing great.
One thing that I just thought of that I meant to ask you, so apologies for springing it on you, but there's the platform Rally, which allows people to sort of create their own coin. Versus going through the process of, writing a white paper and sort of starting your own crypto, which is, of course, more work, right? So if somebody thinks that they want to sort of create their own currency or their own coin, how would they decide between, using a platform like Rally and just sort of spinning one up in 10 minutes or less, or versus sort of going through the process of like starting a fresh blockchain and, spinning something completely custom up?
I would not. Well, I mean, it's actually not that much more difficult technically to do it yourself, but you have to know how to do it. And things like Rally, Mint Me is another one. And these are things where, I get approached by these things because I create content. People want me to brand myself, which is not really, I still need to wrap my head around that a little bit before I do that. But I think if for a business or a brand, like this is one of the things they talk about in these brand tokens. Yeah, sure. Yeah, go to the platform. These guys, they give you the tools out of the box. And, there's something to be said for being able to just sit down, log in, create your token. And because it's blockchain, it's now, you put it on Ethereum, which is a cryptocurrency. It's just a network. It's it's global. Everybody knows Ethereum. It's massive. It's a massive platform, and you can distribute it through pretty much any. You can do it yourself, or you can push it through any number of platforms that give you access to people who want to buy it, who want to participate. And you log in. Rally is good. There are a few others. You log in, you set your parameters, create your token, and you're off and running.
Just out of curiosity, I happen to know if using one of those platforms sort of permanently binds you to that platform versus doing it yourself. So should people be concerned if they're going to use one of those platforms, like, hey, I don't know if these guys are going to be around in 5, 10, 15, 20 years, should I go through the hassle of learning how to sort of do it myself and build my own chain?
Well, there are a lot of things that need to be worked out to address that concern. One of the things that is working in tandem and parallel is this idea of interoperability, because once you have your token and it's embedded in the blockchain, it's forever, right? So in that sense, no, you never lose it. You can take it anywhere you want, but then you have to have people if it's not interoperable, because there are dozens and dozens of different blockchains, and they're all configured a little differently. It'll take time to know which one of these approaches is going to be the best way to do this. One of the things that's happening in the background is interoperability, so that if you do create it on Ethereum, and then Ethereum, which is just a protocol, and Ethereum kind of goes by the wayside, and that becomes the CompuServe, and AOL comes along, and there's another blockchain that does better, then you don't lose that. You can port that from Ethereum to a new blockchain. And there are a few projects working on that. It's a new technology, it's developing. So that's a need that right now, it's a risk that I don't know of that the industry has addressed yet, but everybody knows. So this is something that there are a lot of people working on a solution. We'll just have to see over time which one works. For now, a lot of people are using Ethereum because it's the biggest, it's the oldest, it's very robust, and everybody, but I mean, for the most part, the interesting things that are going on in crypto are happening on Ethereum, with all these other blockchains taking the concepts that are developed on Ethereum and trying to do these things in a better way on their own. So until we have Look, it'll take a few years. Once we get a chance to see which of these spinoffs is doing it better, then then maybe somebody can start to make a really good analysis of that. It's just we're not quite there yet. It is a risk. Well, we'll see how it goes. But you never lose. The idea is you never lose the token. You never lose your NFT. Anything you do on a blockchain, you never lose it. The question is how to make it accessible to people, or even yourself, so that you can actually derive value from it. So there's two separate parts to that.
Right. It needs to be convertible to something, right? It needs to be fungible, not only within itself, but to other currencies or other value transmission methodologies, like, money, the dollar or other fiat currencies. So that's really fun to wrap your head around, because, it's sort of like happening in parallel with traditional currencies. So and traditional value creation and value holding methods. So I'll be watching it pretty carefully. I think it's fascinating. I appreciate you educating me and the eMarketing Association members about it, and look forward to staying in touch.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure.